Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Overnight Action Report here at MarketStream.live. My name is Joseph Cusick with the Cusick Group, securities offered by MoneyBlock. Here to check out what's going on, not only here in the United States pre-market, but let's take a look at what happened overnight in Japan, China, India, because 25% of your portfolio is typically made up of international exposure, anywhere between 17 and 25%. So that's why we want to cover this overnight action both in Asia, Europe, and then we'll take a look at the pre-market here in the United States. So let's jump right in. It's been one heck of a week. Taking a look at Japan, the Nikkei gained 1.2% overnight. Ended the week up about 3.1%, so it's been an impressive move. 9 sectors registered gains, with healthcare continuing to lead the way in Japan, up 2.8%. We also saw that energy names were up about 2.6%, and consumer discretionary still moving to the upside, up about 1.8% overnight in Japan. Now, we had fast retailing, Sony, Takeda Pharmaceutical, all up between 2.6% and 9.7%. Those were the notable drivers to the upside in the Nikkei. EWJ, that's the ETF that I follow to keep up on Japanese stocks. It's an ETF that trades here in the U.S. Went out last night at $51.10. The weekly options that are expiring today are pricing in the potential for this particular ETF to move 86 cents. Either up or down. That's about 1.6 move just in today, 1.6% move. Vol is relatively inexpensive for you new viewers. When I mention volatility, implied volatility, that should just give you an indication. If it's low, there's not an expectation of big violent moves in the stock during that time period, at least for today. Taking a look at Hong Kong and the Hang Seng, lost about 0.4%, and it's narrowing its weekly gain. It had a gain over the week of about 0.9%. Now, there were rumors yesterday and headlines that were coming out. We mentioned them a little bit as far as gaming stocks being hit yesterday in the overnight session. Basically, UnionPay withdrawals were going to be limited by the Chinese government. The casino stocks basically were taking it on the chin. We had reported Sands China and Galaxy Entertainment were at the bottom of what has been a pretty impressive week to the upside in Hong Kong. Well, there's been reports this morning that actually in Macau, there isn't going to be that significant of restrictions on withdrawals. So these stocks are now starting to bounce back. This news has come out after the market had closed in China, so these stocks haven't been able to bounce back, but you are seeing stocks like Las Vegas Sands and alike here in the United States bouncing on this news. Now, you're also seeing, though, consumer names are mixed with China Dairy and Belle International. They lost about 1.5% apiece. And then we had Li Fung. This is a consumer name that I like to keep an eye on in Hong Kong. It added about 1.8%. So that narrowed some of the stress that you've seen in this market overnight. EWH is the ETF that I follow. It went out at 2074. And the monthly options that are expiring in 8 days are pricing in the potential for EWH to move either up or down about 1.7% or around 39 cents. Vol is cheap. And I give you these ranges, folks, so that you can have some perspective, so that now you can understand during the trading week, if you see a stock either up or down by a certain amount, you're saying, well, I remember that Joe was saying that there was a forecast built in for this week or for the next 2 weeks of X amount. If it exceeds that, then there's something more than what people anticipated going on in that marketplace. That's why I give you these ranges. So a little context here. China's Shanghai Composite climbed 0.5% overnight, and it narrowed its weekly loss of 0.3%. So there was some catch up there towards the end of the week to the upside. Now, there's been several data points that we pointed out this week that have been better than expected. And one of the most notable things that we're starting to see come out of China recently is that there could be hotter than expected inflation data coming out of China. That could be a catalyst and also some stress. So we're going to watch this. There could be some volatility in China as well as the global markets. FXI is going to be the ETF that I'm going to utilize to track the Chinese large cap stocks. It closed last night at $37.69. The weekly options that are expiring today in FXI are pricing in the potential for it to move either up or down about 2.5% or 94 cents. Vol is relatively inexpensive, so we're not expecting big violent moves. But again, we're only a headline away from violent moves, so you always have to be on the aware. India, the Sensex added 0.2%, extending its weekly gain to 1.6%. Been an impressive move. Most of the components, though, did finish in the red in India, but financials and some large cap names were to the upside. Specifically in the financial space, you had SBI, ICICI Bank, as well as Axis Bank, all gaining between 1.5% and 2.4%. You also saw Reliance Industry, Tata Motors, which is a biggie, and Unilever advancing between 0.3% and 0.7%. So you can see when the large cap names hold up in these indices, that holds up the market as a whole. India had a good week. EPI is the ETF that I track for India. The close was $20.65. The weekly options are pricing in the potential for it to move about 2.2%. That's either up or down 53 cents. That is into today. And vol is a little bit higher than it has been, but still on the lower end of its vol range over the last 52 weeks. Something also notable out of Asia. South Korea's parliament had voted to impeach their president, Park Geun-hye, due to a corruption scandal. Now, we knew that this scandal was out there. It's been in the news, but they have moved to impeach the president. EWI has been reacting positively. As a matter of fact, it bounced this week off of its lows right around that $52, $53 level. EWI is the ETF that I would utilize to track Korean stocks, South Korean stocks. It closed at 55.41. Now, the options are pricing in that are expiring in 8 days. These are the regular monthly options in December. The potential for this stock to move either up or down $1.37. Some critical levels I want to watch on the EWY, the South Korean ETF, is going to be 53.20. Stocks above that, that's that 20-day moving average. It is trending to the upside. That's something that you can watch. 55.07 is the 50-day moving average. That's that institutional moving average. And if you want to learn more how I use these, just join us for Tech Talk. This is where we really dig into the technical components of both option pricing and the charts. But I wanted to give you some levels so that if you're interested in looking at adding some exposure to the South Korean markets, this is how you could do it with this ETF, and now you have some technical levels as well as some ideas of what the potential movement could be over the next 8 days. Now, the stock has come off since its highs that we've seen in the last 3 months of around $58, $59. Let's see if we get some volume here on this news to the upside. Taking a look at Europe, we're going to start in Germany. The German DAX is higher by about 0.2% right now, early in the session, with healthcare names pacing the advance. We see that Merck is up 2.6%. We also have financials and exporters. They're lagging at this juncture. Deutsche Bank and Commerzbank are down 1.9% and 0.5% respectively, while Daimler, Chrysler, BMW, and Volkswagen are all showing losses right now early in the session of around down 0.2% to 1.1%. Obviously, the ECB did come out yesterday, say that they will extend the current program, infusion program, QE, quantitative easing, whatever you want to call it. They're going to extend it. There is some dissension, though, on whether or not everyone is in agreement that they want to extend it for the full year. They're going to stop in March with the 80 billion euro purchases, and then they're going to go to what has been expected now to be a 60 billion euro purchase through the end of 2017. We're going to see there is some dissension. Most notable is Germany. EWG is the ETF. It settled last night at $26.07. The weekly options are pricing in the potential for the underlying to move today about 46 cents or 2.1%, and Belle is relatively cheap in EWG. Now, taking a look at the FTSE in UK. trading up about 0.1% early in the session. Now, there are select consumer names that are trading among the leaders, while you do have some of the financial names lagging. That's why the market is holding back here in the FTSE. You're seeing leaders like Sky, Associated British Foods, Imperial Brands, as well as British American Tobacco and ITV, all up between 0.9% and 2%. Those are the leaders. On the downside, though, you're seeing Prudential, Barclays, Lloyds Banking, and RBS all down between 0.7% and 2.6%. Again, there could be some concerns about whether or not the actual QE program is going to continue and how that's going to impact rates going forward in the ECB. EWU is the ETF that you can use to follow FTSE stocks. Settled last night at $31.03. The options that are expiring at the end of the month in 8 days are pricing the potential for the stock to move about 1.7% over the next 8 days, or up or down 55 cents. Taking a look at the French CAC, it's climbed 0.6%. So we have some mixed markets here in Europe. Thanks again to half of its components into the plus side or into the green. Consumer names are some of the biggest leaders right now early in the session. You have Vivendi, Danone, L'Oreal, all up between 1.5% and 4%. Now you do have financials like BNP Paribas, Crédit Agricole, and Société Générale are all down between 0.5% and 0.8% early in the session. Again, that could be post the ECB announcement. But EWQ right now, it's settled at $24.37. This ETF you can utilize to track and trade French stocks. The monthly options that are expiring in 8 days are pricing in the potential for the underlying to move about 57 cents, or around 2.3%. Now finally, we want to take a look at Italy, and you're going to see quite a few headlines come out about Italy now that they're post their vote, the no vote, on the referendum to basically change the political landscape in Italy. They're going to leave the status quo. The Prime Minister has resigned and his resignation was accepted by the President of Italy. There's some other headlines that are now going to start coming out now that the ECB has come out with how they're going to continue with QE going into 2017. A lot of Italian banks are looking for capital raises. Now the Italian government says yesterday had announced that they were going to do a cap raise for a BMPS. The ECB came back last night, overnight, and the supervisory board rejected the bank's request for more time for capital raises. So the government's going to have to step in here. There are going to be a few other institutions that are going to be trading to the downside if they don't start seeing some capital infusion, and if the Italian government doesn't do it, because it looks like the ECB is not going to be actively participating in that. UniCredit, Banco Popular, UBI Banca are all down between 1.3% and 4.4%. So we're going to watch this very closely, especially since the political landscape right now in Italy is volatile, to say the least. EWI is the ETF that tracks these Italian stocks and many more. The stock settled last night at $23.72. The options that are expiring today are pricing in the potential for EWI to move either up or down about 71 cents, or around 3.2%, and vol is relatively muted. All right, folks, that is it for the overnight action. We are taking a look at the pre-market action here in the United States. The Dow Jones looks like it's going to try to open up onto the upside. We still have quite a bit of time before the open. The Dow Jones is up 21 at 19,585. Taking a look at the NASDAQ futures, they're trading at 48.74 and a quarter, up 12 and a quarter. You also have the S&P 500 trading at 22.43 and a quarter, up a buck. And what's notable is that the U.S. bond markets are down. You have the 10-year trading at 124.13, and you have the 30-year trading at 149.06. So you basically have both the 10-year and the 30-year on the long end of the bond curve down. Bonds down, stocks up. What's also notable is that we have crude up 57 cents, now well above $50 at 51.40, and you have the dollar strength, which is interesting. We'll see if commodities starts to weigh on commodities during the day, but the dollar is trading right now at 101.50. So that's the U.S. pre-markets right now. Looks like we're going to be opening up in the green as well, and we'll keep an eye on all this at 9:30 Eastern Time. Join us for the opening bell, where we will cover what's hot on the open. See you at 9:30 Eastern Time here on MarketStream.live. Take care.